I want to ask the Minister if he has seen and read the policy document on fur farming 2018 from Veterinary Ireland. It's an extremely significant document because in its recommendations it outlines clearly that it recommends that there should be an immediate ban on the farming of mink and similar wild animals for the production of fur. They join a chorus of opposition. I'm sure you hear the opposition every Tuesday when there's a protest outside the department calling for an end of fur farming, and they're in line with the 80% of the population in Ireland who believe that there should be a ban on fur farming, according to a poll conducted by Red Sea.
Thank you, Deputy.
Thank you, Deputy. My department has statutory responsibility for the welfare and protection of farmed animals under the European Community's Welfare of Farmed Animal Regulations, 2010 Statutory Instrument 311 of 2010, and the Animal Health and Welfare Act 2013. Irish fur farmers are, in this regard, subject to the same animal welfare legislation as other livestock farmers. A review of all aspects of fur farming in Ireland was commissioned in November 2011. The terms of reference of the review group were to review fur farming in Ireland taking into account existing legislative provisions for the licensing of mink farming, to comment on the economic benefits of the sector, to consider the effectiveness of existing welfare controls and to make appropriate recommendations. The review group invited submissions from the public and interested parties and considered over 400 submissions which were received. The group concluded that it did not find the arguments in favour of banning the farming of fur animals in Ireland compelling and recommended that instead fur farming be allowed to continue under licence and subject to official control. I accept the findings of the review group and its recommendations. On foot of the review group's deliberations, my department introduced more rigorous controls on licence holders in the areas of animal welfare, animal accommodation, security and nutrient management. Licensees are subject to regular inspections, including unannounced inspections by department officials. Notwithstanding the position in a number of other European countries, given the recommendations from the review group, there are no plans to introduce a ban on fur farming in Ireland presently. My department has drafted new codes of practice for fur farming, which, among other requirements, will require each such farm to have its husbandry plans signed off on by their private veterinary practitioner.
Thanks very much, Deputy.
Thanks. Minister, I could have told you that you would say that because that's what you've said repeatedly, word for word, to every question on this issue for a long period of time, unfortunately. But will you not take into account the policy of Veterinary Ireland? These are the experts, and they are saying it is not possible to farm mink in a way that is not incredibly cruel. They have a very useful table outlining the conditions of mink in the wild, being solitary animals with territories ranging between 1 and 3 kilometres squared, semi-aquatic. Stereotypes that they have when being farmed do not occur in nature, versus their conditions in being farmed, living in close proximity to other mink, cannot avoid abnormal social contact, spend their entire lives in wire mesh battery cages, typically measuring 90 by 30 by 45 centimetres, cannot run, swim, dive or hunt, preventing from exhibiting basic natural behaviours, and deprivation of swimming is equivalent to the stress from deprivation of food. There's 200,000 mink at any one time in Ireland, 150,000 a year are killed, and there is no way that this can be done in a way that isn't barbaric for what is only a luxury product made for profit. So do you not accept that you should change the position that you've had since 2011 and accept that fur farming should be banned?
Minister to respond.
Deputy, I'm aware of the report of Veterinary Ireland that you allude to. I'm also aware of the review that took place. I'm also aware of the improved regulations that the department has introduced in that area. And I'm also, and it's a factor that's rarely commented on, but I'm also aware of the employment that people have in these industries. And the fact that I don't have any imprimatur by virtue of programme for government or mandate from the people to proceed by way of closing down what is a legitimate, regulated, highly regulated and inspected industry. And, you know, I take account of the points you make and the points of view expressed by Veterinary Ireland and a whole host of others. But at the end of the day, I have to take into account the regulations and rules that are there, domestic law and EU law, and, you know, adjudicate then as to whether or not, in terms of the enhanced regulations that we have introduced, what is on balance the most appropriate way to proceed. And certainly given the fact that neither in the programme for government nor on the basis of the government's election here do we have a mandate to proceed along the lines that you would advocate.
Final question, Deputy Murphy.
by, for example, the ISPCA, Veterinary Ireland, indicate that there is no substantial permanent employment associated with fur farming. If there is to be an impact from a ban on fur farming, then I'm in favour of measures to ensure that any such negative impact is counterbalanced and other opportunities are offered to people. I would make the point to the Minister that while it's not in the programme for government, while the Minister may not want to ban it, he's not going to be able to escape this issue for long. I mean, we have a bill we've brought it forward to first stage. We will be bringing it to second stage before the summer recess, seeking a ban on fur farming. There'll be a significant amount of public campaigning around that. That is designed to make absolutely clear that fur farming is illegal, arguably already under an EU directive which says that no animal shall be kept for farming purposes unless it can reasonably be expected on the basis of its genotype or phenotype that it can be kept without detrimental effect on its health or welfare, and through the Animal Health and Welfare Act 2013. It's arguably already illegal to have mink farming taking place, but our legislation will simply aim to clarify that.
As you're aware, Deputy, we are obliged to operate within EU legislation and indeed our own animal welfare legislation of 2013. And since the conduct of that review, we have in fact increased the legal framework within which they operate. I mean, there are, in figures I've seen, and I can't be definitive about this, but there are in excess of 100 people working in the industry in Ireland. And that cannot simply be disregarded as an irrelevance. In the context of what you're asking for. Other countries have paid substantial compensation to close down. Other countries have banned fur farming, though they never had it, which is then being used as a kind of something to prove or maintain momentum on this area. So it's not as simple or as straightforward as you would suggest.
We move on.